I'm Celeste Goldberg.
I'm Braylon-Final.
And we did how does climate change affect different communities and different races.
Alright, so what is climate change? Climate change, by definition, is the change in global or regional climate patterns, especially from the mid to late 20th century onwards. The main reason being atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. This means hotter temperatures, more drought, more health risks, and an increase in severe storms. And humans are the main thing responsible for climate change with the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas. And that picture over there is just a factory burning a bunch of fossil fuels, and it's just going up in the air, and that's one of the main reasons. It's destroying the ozone layer, which is allowing more sunlight to get to the earth, and that's kind of leads to that top right picture. That's one of the glaciers up in the Antarctic, and you can just see how it's melting uncontrollably, and it's not good for the earth.
And then who does climate change affect? So climate change affects the whole planet, not just humans. It affects the habitats of animals themselves, plants. And in terms of affecting humans, it affects everybody, but not equally. Those with like a lower social status or certain races, as well as certain regional groups, are affected more by climate change. So these are like communities that live closer to factories or toxic waste plants, because those release toxic chemicals into the air, and then it gets into their lungs. So a study was done on the asthma rates, and there's 13.4% of African American children with asthma as opposed to 7.4% of white children. And these are because they live in lower income areas closer to all these toxic chemicals being released into the air, and it's negatively affecting their health. And this climate change can also lead to ocean acidification, which then affects the financial state of America, because a lot of money is made from fishing in that industry, and if there's less fish, then there's less money being made from that, which can affect like Native American tribes and the coastal living people.
Of course, climate change is not a new problem. It has evolved over time. It was first declared a problem in 1988 when we noticed the ozone layer was rapidly decreasing. Then in 2002, we were presented at the 8th conference of the UNFCCC that climate change is making an achievement to reduce the access to drinking water, decrease food security, and having adverse health effects. Then again, in 2007, in the Stern report, we saw that it was increasing poverty due to agriculture, flooding, malnutrition, and water resources being declined. And then again, in 2012, we see the same things that disadvantage people, including people facing discrimination based on gender, age, race, class, are just being negatively affected by the climate hazards.
Okay, so on the right graph, it shows the most alarmed and concerned races, and 69% of Hispanic and Latinos are alarmed or concerned, 57% of African Americans are alarmed, and then 49% of whites. People of color are more likely to be concerned because of where they live. So that could be because of weather like tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, environmental hazards like chemical spills, toxic leaks, air pollution, and factories. And according to which racial ethnic groups care most about climate change, 1 million African Americans live within a half a mile of a natural gas factory. So this could increase risk of cancer in a lot of these places. And then on the graph on the left, Hispanics and Latinos see global warming as the 6th most important issue out of 20. African Americans see it as the 16th, and whites see it as the 17th. Hispanics and Latinos are also more likely to. And then on the graph on the left, Hispanics and Latinos see global warming as the 6th most important issue out of 20. African Americans see it as the 16th, and whites see it as the 17th. Hispanics and Latinos are also more likely to actually help out in the fight against climate change compared to other races.
A few organizations that are fighting climate change, the Alliance for Climate Education, they're promoting clean energy, the Climate Adaptation Knowledge Exchange, also known as CAKE. They're a group of researchers that share knowledge on geographic, geographics, sectors, and phases of the adaptation process. We got the Georgetown Climate Center. This group keeps up with laws being passed to ensure they're helping climate change. Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals, ITEP. They offer support services to tribal air quality professionals.
That's our
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions for this group? All right, thank you guys.
So he moved here and did his thing, and then another angler is Takuitu. He's from Chiba, Japan. With the same dream, he came from Japan, wanted to fish for a living and do what he loved. Both these anglers have been greatly accepted in the fishing community. They've grown big names, everybody loves them. They have great major accomplishments. Carl, so he's from Australia. He fished for the Bassmaster Opens for 3 years, which you have to qualify for the Opens to make the elites with all the top fishermen in the world. And it took Carl 3 years, but in his first year in the Elite Series, he won a fishing tournament in the elites on Lake Tenkiller, and he made $102,000. In those Opens, he had 7 top 10 finishes, making over another $100,000. Carl would travel back and forth between here and Australia to go visit family, and in between tournaments when he had downtime. And then since then he's moved to Middle Tennessee, and he is married and settled down. And then Takuitu, he grew up in Japan. He's one of the few anglers to qualify for the Elite Series in his first year of the Opens. In 2021, he won a tournament on the St. Lawrence River, he also made $102,000 in that singular tournament. Taku, he lives on the road, and he has a camper that he lives in and just travels and fishes. That's what he loves. These two anglers that paved the road for all the other international anglers really opened everybody's eyes to see that people from other countries can come and do what we love. Recent podcast by Dave Mercer, he talks to Carl about what he had to go, or the stuff that he had to go through to come to America, and stuff he had to give up. So like he wouldn't see his family for months at a time, and he would nearly went bankrupt. Taku and Carl made a combined $850,000 in the last 3 years fishing the Elite Series. Then they both, in those tournaments they won, they both used techniques to win those tournaments that they learned back at home fishing for different species. Carl, they didn't have bass in Australia. They have barramundi, which they're larger than bass and stronger. But he used some of those same techniques here to win that tournament, and then the same goes for Taku from Japan. And that's it.